Morning, all. This thing this morning. Morning. Let's see here. Hyacinth Richardson, Pauline Buckmeyer, Ria Ed, Arlene Lewis, Annette Baird, Marlene Panton, Ruth Trude, morning to all, Roxanne King, Carol Boyce, John, Ruben Rogers, the Patriot, Carol Myers, Helen Faria Trotman, Leon Joseph, all of you guys, morning. Ashton Clark, Sarah Richards, Alison Boyce, Diane Charles, Celestine Joseph, Marva James, Angela, Joseph Richards, Heather Lee, Marlene West. Morning to all of you guys. Apologies for my late start, but yeah, we're just one of those Sundays. I was supposed to start at 11, but then a constituent came calling at my gate. Yeah, so that took a little while, and then she wanted me to visit another constituent who lives not too far, who is disabled and needed to see me urgently. Yeah, so that kind of threw me off a little bit. And then when I finally sorted that out, the internet was giving me some stress there. So yeah. I tell you, the life of a representative, and I'm not yet elected. So what you gonna do? You gotta meet the people. So let me just jump straight into it. So morning, all of you guys. I have to jump off at 2 o'clock because I had to go and walk this afternoon from 3 o'clock till whatever time we finish, and it's a very ambitious walk this afternoon, covering a lot of ground. So we'll see how that goes. Can't even get time to go by my barber. We'll sort that out. So many things to talk about. The campaign. So we are past nomination day, Friday gone. So my nomination, well, the nomination process for the 41 PNM candidates would have gone smoothly. Of course, Balize House wasn't playing. They making a joke, so they wanted you to send a picture of your receipt to show that you would have made your payment and everything is good. So we good on this side, all 41 of us. And so we press on. No man thing we're doing, man. Yeah, so we press on. But I saw that one of the candidates for the APP, the All People Party, Kizelle Jackson's party, of course, she had some challenges with respect to her nomination, and unfortunately, she was not able to complete the process, and she will not be running as a candidate. This, of course, is what is not clear. Stafford, I think, is her name, goes by the alias the real Raw Talk, and she was coming up against, so was supposed to come up against Brian Manning. So that's one less person for Brian to have to contend with. But apparently, her challenge was that when she got to the returning officer's office, she had the wrong form, and then you had to go back and get the form done over. There's a form that you have to sign with you need at least six constituents. At least six constituents from your constituency to nominate you, and you have to present the ID cards and so on so that they can verify and all of that. And she had the wrong form, supposed to be form 37, and she had form 38. Anyway, long story short, leave it up to them to find a way to try and blame the PNM. So the allegation coming from Kizelle is that it was sabotage and Stuart Young and all kind of bacchanal. So what Stuart Young had to do with that? So can I have time to tell you? You all is a set of crazy people. You all putting up stragglers. Talk about that is where you call pick up side. Pick up side. So I mean, when you look at some of the characters, but anyway, to each his own, every citizen has the right to offer themselves to serve. Yeah, but it just goes to show that they were not ready. So let me see if I get this here. So, take this on. Okay, let me see if I find this here. I just wanted to play a little bit. These people are not serious. It was said many years ago the alternative to the PNM is chaos, and that continues to be proven time after time after time. All right, so let's see. Where is this? Where is it? That's not. Give me 1 second. Let me find this here. It's under the other thing. We have a lot to talk about, so I mean, yeah. No, not that one. Just let me get it here. Yeah, so it's how they always like to blame the PNM for everything. The PNM had nothing to do with that. You had the dry run day, which was the Thursday before, to go to the returning officer with your documents and everything so they could run through it with you and tell you, okay, this is what is what is what. You need to get this, you need to get that, and so on. A lot of them did not take advantage of the dry run. And this being your first go wrong, you're not supposed to take that chance. But they decided to take the chance. And you're alleging that it was a conspiracy. But some of the other candidates in the very same party had no such problems. They went with the right form. So you saying that you got the wrong package, but so the others didn't get the wrong package. So how come their process went smoothly and yours didn't? But anyway, we're gonna talk about that. So we'll look for that video at another time. I don't really have it right now. So of course the UNC continues to play the numbers game, Somebody need to tell them no, crowds don't win elections, right? Especially when you're renting a crowd, especially when you're buying people, paying people to come to your meetings. And then you have your own activists being caught on video stating that half of these people not voting for the UNC, them just looking for the dollar. Hear it for yourself. I'm telling you, so you go no. Half of them are voting UNC, They're just trying to get a dollar. Half of them are voting UNC, You understand? So I'm telling you, so you go no. And this is from the mouth of a UNC supporter is telling you. So she knows the code. She knows exactly what is happening. They're coming to get a dollar, some money passing. Money passing, and again, we continue to ask the question, where are they getting this money from? Who is the UNC financiers? You know what's interesting? The same UNC was all over the place talking about campaign finance reform, and the government would need to bring legislation for campaign finance reform, and they don't want to bring the legislation because they don't want us to know how much money they're getting from the 1% and so on. But the party that is spending the most amount of money in this election is not the PNM. The party that is spending the most amount of money is the UNC. And they continue to skirt around the question of where are they getting this money from. Because Prime Minister Stuart Young would have called them out in the meeting last week in San Fernando, asking the question, where is the UNC getting all of this money from to be able to be running all of these ads on TV and radio, to be buying out influencers on social media, allegedly at a price tag starting at about $40,000. And I suppose it's negotiable because the more followers you have, you could put in a case for a little extra money, because you know that after the election, once the UNC loses, that's it there for you. You are no longer, you are going to lose followers, right? You're going to take a significant bashing from your followers who do not support or did not support Yellow is the Code. And when I look at who are the influencers that are bashing the PNM, I think I mentioned to you all one by the name of NCW, who says that he provides informative comedy, but I consider him to be a parasitic comedian who lacks the creativity to generate his own content, and instead, thank you so much. So, lacks the creativity to generate his own content, and in so doing, just uses other people's content that they put out, whether it's deliberate or not, and splices it together and presents something that is funny, right? But you built a brand around that, a clothing brand, in fact, and persons would have patronized you. But now that you go all in, so it's people like him, this NCW, Matara, French, this was a stickman, Cuban, the Cuban boy, and others. And when I look at all of them who have bought into this, it threw my mind back. This same NCW had a comedy show, well, yeah, a series. So he was going around the country with this comedy show called Mako and Hush. And all of the cast, so what he would have done with the cast that was doing this comedy show was he would have pooled together all of these various social media influencers, right? So at one time, all of them was cussing one another, and then he was able to bring them together to create this cast for this comedy show called Mako and Hush. And those are the same ones who are out there talking about the LOC code and cussing the government as often as they could. All fell under that umbrella. But you're not seeing the others who have more common sense, those with the majority, with the larger following, people like Certified Samson and Kyle Boss and Junior Lee and all of these people. You're not seeing them engaging in that. They have not sold out. So they continue to create the same type of content that they're custom creating, and they continue to get their likes, and they continue to get their shares, and they continue to get their followers, and they also continue to get their endorsements and their brand ambassador opportunities. So you have companies, big companies in this country, who wish to benefit from or to leverage on their platform and their large following to be able to promote their products and their businesses. So these guys, they know what the time it is. They're not about that. They understand that this is temporary. So it's really the strugglers who will take the 40,000 and the 45,000 to bash the government. But interestingly, the one they call Cuban boy, some of you may have seen him. He's from Cuba. He now in his case, prior to this, he used to be bashing the government before, but not as much as he's doing it now. And just recently, I would have played for you all, I think on 2 occasions, videos that he would have done praising the government and praising Dr. Rowley for the excellent healthcare that his children would have received at Mount Hope. The first one was a couple months ago when both his children had gotten the virus or something like that, and he took them to Mount Hope, and he did a video showing you the excellent care that they were receiving. And then he went on to show how he got a prescription to go to the dispensary to get the medication for free, and he wanted to see if this was really true, and he took us down to the dispensary, and then he showed you, yes, look, he really get the medication. And so he talked about the restroom, the toilet in the hospital. He said it's more clean than his own toilet at home. And as difficult as it was for him to say, he said, thank you, Dr. Rowley, thank you, PNM. And then subsequent to that, I think his daughter would have fallen ill, something to do with her touching some area where there was some rats or whatever it is, and she was in hospital. And he did another video about 2 or 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, again showing his daughter in hospital, the excellent care that she was receiving. He was showing you the nice meal that she would have received, and again highlighting the quality of care in Trinidad and Tobago. So while the Trinis bashing the healthcare system, some of them can't tell the last time they went to a public hospital, but just running on propaganda. Somebody who actually experienced it was telling a totally different story to what we keep hearing. But he has gone back, and now we cussing the government again and stuff. So the UNC is pulling out all sorts of tricks. If they're so convinced that they're going to win, they have it in the bag, and victories are sure, they could taste it, they could feel it, as their leader said recently, then why you all have to be engaging in all of these set of tricks? Like Felix the cat and his bag of tricks is all kind of thing. You send a man to come up against me in Malabar with the same first name to try and fool people. And you think that's wise? Or as I said, Malabar Mosika people's brighter than that. But we will still, on our walkabout, let them know that there are 2 Dominics on the ballot paper. And I think it's done in alphabetical order, so look for the first one. But I would even go so far as to tell them, forget the name, look for the symbol. Put your X next to the Balize, all right? And it's my name would be next to the Balize. Forget the next one who's trying to trick you. Dominic Alexander Smith, I think is his name. Met him on Friday when I went to file my nomination papers, and clearly delusional, thinking that anyway, I'm gonna leave that there, you know. So yeah, we will leave that there for now. Needless to say, I think somebody sent me this here. So let me just get this here.
This morning, I would have received a phone call from Mr. Clear Stanford, aka Roto, indicating to me that I am here to drop in my nomination papers, and it was rejected on the basis that Form 38 was the wrong form. It should have been Form 37. I said that can't be because I opened my package. I was almost there as well. I opened my package only to see that I do have Form 38. I said, allow me to miss a clear Stafford to my right that would have gone to elections and boundaries early this morning. She was there even before EBC opened. Yeah? And tell them what is the place with you. So I had all my papers ready and I was ready. They told me I had to wait. They said that they are not opening until 9 a.m., so I had to wait. They had a chair outside. I sat and I waited. When I got in and opened my package, they immediately said, you have the wrong forms. They said they do not need 38 or 37. Just now, somebody saying, but EBC is an independent body, so how Stuart gets this? So let's act like we're not living in Trinidad, please. Don't act like you're not living in Trinidad, because I am to wonder, how come one of our candidates get locked out? Is it all coincidence? How come I, Kizel Jackson, received Form 38 instead of Form 37 in my package? How come these coincidences all happen all at the same time? Is it really a coincidence? Or you may continue, my lady. So then they said I have to get back all my signatures and all the documentation. I was very early, so it was no heartache to me, and I decided to come up here. Also, the other form that I had, they indicated that I had to get it in triplicate original. So they don't want it to be copied, they need it in triplicate, and I only had one. She did not give me the form. So then, on my way to get one of my signatures, because now people are on work, it is not in the evening, we don't have the time, so I had to come to get a signature in Shogunas. So I had no choice but to come corner Spain for the form that I had to get in triplicate. In traffic, when I reached back on my way down, I called. So you called your returning officer? Yes? I called my returning officer and I let them know I will be a little late, can I be afforded an extension? They said no, 3 o'clock is 3 o'clock and I'll be done. Being the person that I am, I still went there and I reached 10 minutes past. Now remember, I was there 15 minutes before the time. They knew I was on time, they knew I was early. Yeah. I presented my package and they still refused me. He said, I have nothing I can do. I have to follow the rules. I have to follow the rules. And he slammed this book and that was it. All right, so somebody asking, did you do a dry run? Yes, we did. But they placed the wrong form from 38 instead of Form 37. So that show up everything. Because you have to go, I will show them the form. You have to go now and get all these things. Yeah? All these things you have to do over. You have to get a justice of the peace also to stamp this. And you have to get back the signatures as well as the ID card for those persons that your proposals. Now, in terms this morning, I would have.
Right. She heard her say they did a dry run. No, you didn't do a dry run. Because if you had done a dry run, the returning officer would have told you you have the wrong form. You wouldn't have ended up at Form 38. And further to that, I don't know this thing you're talking about, you got the package with the wrong form and so on. My election officer didn't go to EBC to get any package because the forms are available online. She would have downloaded the forms, printed it out, being the experienced person that she is, and done the needful. I went to her home, we sat down on the morning of the dry run, and we did what we had to do. Then we went down to the school where the returning officer is, took the forms and so on. The returning officer went through all of the forms, stamped all, certifying that everything was okay, and signed it. So that when we went back on Friday, it was simply to submit the forms that were already approved by the returning officer, and everything was good. We had no problems. Right? All that was needed to be done was for the assistant to just go through the binder to make sure that the signatures, no, not the signatures, but the persons who would have nominated me are in fact legitimate constituents of Malabar Massacre. That exercise was completed, and then we were handed a package which consisted of the map of the constituency with the boundaries and so on, the forms that we would need on the election day to ensure that our election agents can come into the polling station and the like. A couple other forms. We got the receipt for the $5,000 deposit and so on. That was the only. So I don't know what they're talking about. They get a package with Form 38 and whatnot and stuff. But that is what happens when you figure, and then you call to ask for an extension. You can't get no extension. The last time the EBC sought to facilitate voters with an extension, we saw what happened. It ended up in the courthouse, costing millions of dollars. And today, the UNC owes the PNM millions of dollars and refusing to pay. So you can't get no 10 minutes extension because somebody would have pick up the phone and call and say, hey, APP, the returning officer for San Fernando West, give this person a 10 minutes extension. And then that would have been bacchanal. So the person had to do their job. And had another, I don't know how Stuart Young name get calling up in that. Because you had how many candidates, and this was the only one that encountered that problem. So only two of you will get Form 38 and the rest of them, they were in order. If it is that the person, that signatory was too far, all you had to do was to find another one. You don't know, so you don't know 6 people in the constituency of San Fernando West, San Fernando East, sorry, that you could have gone to. You had to go all the way to Shogunas to meet this person because they were at work. Your next door neighbor, well, maybe your next door neighbor is PNM, so I don't know. But anyway, enough of that. Enough of them. So, as was to be expected, the leader of the opposition is denying the claim by Prime Minister Stuart Young that should the UNC get into office, their intention is to devalue the TT dollar. I don't know how one can, well, yes, I know if you're UNC, you could do that. Lie shamelessly, bold-facedly, even in the face of evidence, because it is in your manifesto. Page 56 of 126 of your manifesto clearly states, and I read, monetary and exchange rate policy. The UNC recognizes that the conduct of monetary and exchange policy falls exclusively under the purview of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. A new UNC government will commit to the following to help protect our country's external position. Work with the central bank to ensure a competitive exchange rate. How are you going to do that? The Ministry of Finance will work with the central bank to ensure Trinidad and Tobago's exchange rate is competitive, eliminating the dirty managed float and allowing market forces to operate within a crawling band. The transition to a more balanced foreign exchange market will be supported by an opening up of the foreign market allocation system to allow for more equitable distribution of foreign exchange. That is on page 56 of the UNC's National Economic Transformation Plan. So for the leader of the opposition to come and say that it is all made up on the PNM line, this is the document, as Chochong would have told you all, is on the UNC's website. It is there for all to read. Kamla Prasad Bisasa has been encouraging persons in the last couple months and more to visit their website and to read this document, which is their plans to revive the economy. You all have heard me refer to this document on numerous occasions. I took up the invitation to visit their website and to read the document, and I have been doing so. And by applying my background in finance, I could tell you that it is hogwash on a pile of rubbish, garbage. Or to use the words of some of our more noted and accomplished economists, pie in the sky. A lot of the things that they're promising to do and a lot of the things that they're saying that they're going to do in this manifesto is not economically feasible. So they just make up a manifesto and put it out there for the sake of, and knowing that the fully dons who support them will not read it, or those who read it, they wouldn't understand, because any word that has more than 5 letters in it might be difficult for them to understand. In the same way, you have persons mounting their platform talking about they will start negotiations for public servants at 10%, despite the fact that the leader of the opposition has not said that, but they have been saying that. And in their manifesto, they talk about government will be moving away from, let me see if I get it here. Where is it? Right. That Following consultations, a new UNC government will review, assess, and determinations will be made on which enterprises the state may want to continue to hold on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So they will do an assessment and determine which current state enterprises that employ citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, which government offices, not ministries. They could always shut down a ministry if they want to. It wouldn't be the first time, right? But they are saying here, they will do an assessment and determine which enterprises the state may want to hold on to on behalf of the people. 2, which would serve the country better if they were out of government hands. What does that mean? If it's not in government hands, then it's in private sector hands. So they are telling you in their manifesto, page 49 of 126, that they would decide which state enterprises would serve better if they were out of government's hands. What does that mean? They're going to sell it. All right? And when you sell it and you put it into the private sector hands, I keep saying the first thing that is going to happen is restructuring. And when you hear the word restructure, what does that mean? People going home, people going and lost their work, pink slip. They go on to say which would do better as public-private partnerships. They go on to say again, we will gradually reduce the level of state ownership or remove government from several state enterprises which have no strategic national importance or are a financial drain and have no prospect of viability. It is in their manifesto. So all of you public servants and all of you persons who working for the government in whether it be state enterprises and so on, or ministry, or whatever it is, they can move around people who talking about yellow is the code and yellow is the code. And you want to give the UNC a vote because Felicia tell you they're starting at a base of 10%. But Roger telling you, well, we haven't agreed on a percentage as yet for negotiations. All right? So they can't agree. 2 union leaders on the same platform, but both of them telling you something different. Munilal, the kitten from Oropuch, who fancies himself to be the lion from Oropuch, telling you, yes, we're starting at 10%, but the leader, the person who in charge, she ain't talking about that. She's not calling no figures. So you don't know who to believe. So either which way it goes, continue with your nonsense about yellow is the code and put them in office. And when it is that you see you get a repeat of 2010, 2011, take 5% and whine to the side. Those of you who seem to forget that from the kitten from Oropuch, in reference at that time when Benjai's song Whine to Decide was popular, and he told the unions, take all your 5% and whine to decide. When you see you all decide to play fast and loose with your vote and give them the opportunity to come back into office, those say they didn't tell you that. They told you in the manifesto. You didn't read it. Kamala has been telling you for months to read it and you didn't read it, so don't blame her. And she could tell you, yes, it was in our manifesto. So understand, when it is you see they have all this money flowing like water, and you want to know this party that doesn't have a permanent headquarters, this party that after 36 years is homeless and knocking from pillar to post like the littlest hobo, having to take money, 10% of the salaries of their councillors and their members of parliament and so on to pay the bills, and all of a sudden they are washed with money. Ask yourself where that money is coming from. Read their manifesto. So all who giving them money now and backing them in the hope that they will be able to get their claws into these state enterprises that they're telling you might serve the country better if they were in private hands. Or that these state enterprises that do not provide any strategic national importance, and that the government is going to move away gradually from these state enterprises and invite the private sector to run them. But when it is the government of the day is telling you, okay, we saw merit in getting Oando, a Nigerian company, to come and run the refinery. Oh, they're selling out the assets. The PNM money selling out all the country assets and this and that. But fully done. Your leader and the leadership of your party is telling you in their manifesto that they're going to do more than that. Not just one company. They will do an assessment and an evaluation. And who is going to do that evaluation? The very same people who want it. Just remember, this is the same opposition leader who has told you that should she become prime minister, she intends to create her own parallel energy chamber of commerce. Right? Because she don't agree with the current one. She finds it too pro-PNM, so she's going to create her own. And just a few months ago, just over a year ago or so, there was an article, I was trying to find it, where one of the chambers of commerce had some meeting, and one of these speakers was saying, was a prominent businessman, was saying that The government should give the private sector some of these companies to run government like a business. I have no problem running the government like a business, but understand what the implications are of that. And if that is your intention, tell the people. Don't do like 2010 and tell them $3,000 pension at the age of 60. Life begins at 60. You took their votes on credit, and then after the election, when they give you a vote, looking some of them licking the chops, wanting to get the information to find out what I have to do now to start getting my $3,000 pension because I just turned 60, only to be told, sorry, that was a misprint. We didn't mean that. And I keep telling you all, your vote is non-refundable. So you can't go back to the EBC and say, they lied to me, I will back my vote. It don't work so. You have to tote that for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days, just as you did the last time. All right? So don't be fooled. Do not be fooled. And to all the people who I encounter on my walks, I've encountered a few persons who tell me, well, I know I is PNM, but me voting. I feel I go set this one out this year because I've ex as a public servant, and I can't saddle for 4%. And I'm waiting for my back pay. And all this government giving me is 4%. And I keep telling you that is not true. That while you are so myopic and focused on you get 4% increase, this government would have given you 3 increases on each of the occasions that they increase your personal allowance. That was essentially a pay increase because you're now paying less income tax. That was a pay raise. Less money is going to the government every month and to the Board of Inland Revenue, and more money is going to your bank account. Some of you all who were paying income tax between 2010 and 2015 for the last 3, 4, 5 years, when you look at your pay slip at the end of the month, the section that says PAYE, the numbers after that is 0.00. Between 2010 and 2015, you were seeing a figure there. And that was a pay raise, not just for public sector workers, but private sector workers too. Because the increase in personal allowance affected everybody who has a job. So for instance, if you were earning $8,000 a month between 2010 to 2015, you would have been paying $9,000 a year in income tax. As a result of the Keith Rowley administration taking the decision to increase your personal allowance from $60,000 as it was under Kamala to $90,000 today, you now went from paying $9,000 a year in income tax to $1,500 a year in income tax. A saving of $625 per month. That is an additional $625 that you have been taking home for the last how many years? Whether you're public sector or private sector worker. And when you do the math, that $625 as a percentage of your $8,000 a month salary works out to 7.31%. So you got a 7.31% pay raise. You're taking home 7.31% more of your salary under this administration than you were under the People's Partnership. And then this government is offering you 4. So add that 4 to the 7.31. You got a pay raise of 11.31%, not 4. To stop talking this nonsense about the government only give you 4, but you've been so cultured to think that a pay raise could only come in the form of your actual monthly figure gone up. But under the former administration, you would have had to pay tax on that increase. That increase in your personal allowance also means that when you eventually get your back pay, so long as your back pay plus your monthly salary or your annual salary is less than $90,000, you will pay less tax on your back pay. So a public servant earning $5,000 a month, when you get your back pay, you have wiggle room of $30,000 to make up your $90,000 for the year. It means you could receive a back pay of up to $30,000 if your salary is $5,000 and you pay no tax on that. You get your full, you're getting every penny. Under Prasad Bisa, so you would have had to pay 25 cents on every single dollar of your back pay because your $5,000 a month salary would have maxed out your personal allowance. But you're not giving the government any credit for the fact that they increased your personal allowance. You're paying less income tax and taking home more money. So you got a pay raise other than the 4%. But anyway, I don't know how much more I could stress that point, but I will keep stressing it. All right? So it's just lies, lies, and more lies, tricks, tricks, and more tricks. So they had a meeting, was it last evening or in Center of Excellence, to the candidate launch. So it finally took place, right? All 39 candidates. Not 41 because they're not contesting in Tobago. And we come into Tobago just now. All right, we talk in Tobago today. So they had their candidate launch, and as the case may be. So they bring in all them people who they have paying to work with them. They bring them down to the Center of Excellence. They ram out the Center of Excellence and boast, and look at people. Yellow is the code, but you're seeing yellow, you're seeing blue, you're seeing green. What really is the code? What really is the code? Because PSA bring the section from WASA, OWTU bring their section, and whoever else kept bring the section. So you had the orange section by so, and then you had the UNC, which is part yellow and blue. So it was a whole mix-up. You're confused. All of them chanting yellow is the code, but they're in different colors. And just imagine the public server, the PSA workers was making more noise than the UNC supporters for the UNC leader, right? But they both saying, oh, look at people. But it's the same place in 2023. Come now, man, thing we're doing now. 2023, when they announced Jack is back, was at the same center of excellence. When it was Jack and Gary and Kamla, the three of them stand up on stage. Hey, look. Yes, this is what you call coalition. It was the same thing. The media was outside Center of Excellence interviewing people. How you feeling? Yes, be ready. It's licks for the PNM. Jack is back. And they gone inside. And if you see people inside the Center of Excellence, Jack is back. You had Jack. You had Gary the Great. You had the OWTU, UNC. How did that work out for you? Munilal say, yes, we're going to beat the PNM to Frazzle, and then we're going to beat the Frazzle too. Well, I still waited to see what Frazzle look like. All the crowd they had all over the place. Yes, victory, we could taste it, we could smell it. What was the outcome? 7-7. The same configuration that they went into, same configuration they came out with. Same and except that the UNC came out with maybe a couple extra seats because the EBC created 2 new districts which were in pro-UNC areas. But they almost got up the fight at the tail in Couva North, the Couva North, was it? Yeah, the Roystonia, Couva North, or whatever it is, Roystonia, that the diver's wife got Vanessa Kusi, right? The PNM almost took that seat. But they were able to pull it off. But they came out with one couple two, and they got a little extra thing in Grandy, right? Because Grandy people are a little bit upset for whatever reason. But that's about it. But then we had the draw in Lengua Indian Walk, and then the UNC candidate who won, Quena Mondiablo, and who was the chairman of the corporation, he passed away. So there were 2 by-elections. And so in Lengua Indian Walk, where both the UNC and the PNM got the same number of votes, there was 1 vote, 1 ballot that was in contention. And they couldn't come to a decision on that. So that was done away with, and they called a by-election. And what happened in the by-election? The UNC got 23 less votes than they did in the actual election, and the PNM got an increase of 600 votes. An increase of 600 votes in a UNC area, right? All the boasting and all the crowd and all of that and whatnot. They came out with less votes in the by-election. The PNM came out with more. And in the other by-election in Quena Mondiablo, the PNM got 600 more votes than they did in the actual election in August. In Siparia, in Kamla constituency, they had no answer for that. None. So if you were looking for a Frazzle, you needed to go down to the UNC's camp in Lengua Indian Walk. You should have gone down there and you might have seen a Frazzle lie down, drunk from Biram in the back of the office, right? From the licks that they got from the PNM. But let them go ahead and fool themselves and think crowds could help them. As the same thing happened in 2019, local government election, they boasting, they win the popular vote. How many votes they got? 200 and something thousand, I think, or whatever it was, and the PNM got 160 something thousand, right? 8 months later, general election, popular vote have that. The PNM got 100% more votes. So they got 160 in the local election, and then the general election, the PNM came and they got 320,000 votes, double the vote count, and won the general election. So all the crowd that they were talking about and crowing about for the local election, and when they win the popular vote. Yeah. So go ahead and fool all yourself. Go ahead. Admittedly, the PNM's campaigning so far was a bit sedate a bit docile. It was a little quiet. In fact, during my walkabouts in my constituency, some people have said that to me. They say, I find the PNM too quiet, man. Normally by now they're heating up the place. What's going on with them? What's going on with these meetings? Well, when they see the meeting in Tunapuna last night, I think that really, well, San Fernando, it started with San Fernando, and then last night in Tunapuna, it really kicked the PNM's campaign into gear. And we see some momentum taking place there, right? So we had that great turnout. Friday night, Penny had her campaign launch in Arima, and I was afforded the privilege to speak on her platform. And so we had a very good turnout in Arima as well, right? So we are ready and responsible. So it's just about the election day machinery bringing out the vote. There are a few persons who are on the fence who, let's say, they're a little upset with the government. I went to the grocery this morning, and so the cashier decided to strike up a conversation, because she was throwing a little tackle now, telling me she find my face smooth and thing and whatever, and she see my passing and she find a little cutie whatever. No problem. Yeah. So anyway, so I took the opportunity to introduce myself. I said, "Do you live in this area?" She said, "Yeah." So which means she's a constituent and she could vote. She could vote for me. So I look into campaign if I could get the opportunity. So I introduced myself as the PNM's candidate for the general election, and she says, "Oh, okay." So she's like, "Are you sure you want to go up for PNM?" I said, "Yeah." Why would I not? She's like, "Well, I just find the PNM do enough for the people and thing, and they could have do more and whatnot." I said, "Listen, I agree, more could have been done. However, it certainly was not for a lack of trying, and it was not for a lack of will, but for the most part, a lack of resources. And the government was trying to do as much as they could with what they had. And if they could have done much more, they would have done much more, right? But the resources simply were not there to do more. And I think where they may have fallen down is in communicating that to the people, because the challenge was there in terms of being able to do more. But if you weren't talking to your constituents, talking to your supporters, and letting them know, talking to the country as a whole, to let them know, look, this is why, what is what. Yes, we see the roads bad, but this is our financial circumstance at the moment, and this is why we're trying, but whatever. I think more of that needed to be done. I said, but in any event, if it is that you felt that the government fell short, as their standard bearer for Malaba Mausika, let me apologize on their behalf, but I can give you the assurance that going forward, things are going to be different. All right? And I can safely say that because of conversations that I would have had with certain ministers who have expressed to me things that they want to do, they wanted to do over the last 9.5, 10 years, but were not able to do it in their own constituencies, again, because of financial constraints. And so it is about finding creative ways this time around, until the money start flowing from the various gas deals, so that we could provide in a better way. I said, but I'm asking you to vote for me, right? For me. Okay? So yes, I represent the PNM, but this is me talking to you here, right? So I'm asking you for your vote. So she's like, well, all right. I'll see what I can do. I can't ask for more than that. At least she's contemplating it. She's considering it, right? But anyway. And there are a few more like her around the place, but we will get to them. We'll get to them. Hopefully, good sense will prevail, particularly in the marginal seats where their votes are needed most, and that the candidates would be able to, during their walkabouts, to meet with these people. Let's know. Let me see. Yeah. Lucy says lots of PNM people attending UNC meetings for a drink and lime. Trust me, they're not voting yellow. Excellent. Right? So I am saying that I'm hoping that my colleagues, particularly those in the marginal constituencies, that as they meet persons, that they can treat with that issue going forward. Yeah, but I think once the momentum that we saw last night in Tunapuna, or we saw last week in San Fernando, continues with the other meetings and so on, and PNM people are starting to get fired up. They're starting to, a lot of them have seen their candidates. A lot of them will see their candidates soon enough, and hopefully that will give them the inspiration. And particularly so as you hear the nonsense taking place within the UNC camp. So Larry Lala was on the hustings last night with the PNM in Tunapuna. And the UNC simply cannot help themselves. So I saw Mr. Lala put out a post on his Facebook page. Let me just touch this here. I just want to show you how they treat even their own. So Mr. Lala would have screenshot a comment that was made by one Vincent Ragu, who is a current UNC counselor, right? And a very controversial counselor at that. And here's the comment that he posted. So somebody by the name of Priya Rampasad posted, UNC and ashamed. And she calls out Mr. Ragu. She says, Vincent Ragu, why are you attacking someone on the basis of their skin color? Don't you find that to be a bit racial? She calls out another one, Daniel Rashid. Aren't you in the UNC youth arm? This is really your behavior in a public setting. I am ashamed to be UNC. I really can't wait for the 29th and an internal elections to remove Kamala and her handlers from this party. What did Mr. Ragu say? Eat our food. Country was never at heart. Thank God Kamala knew you were a snake. Of course, he's referring to Mr. Lala. And he says, imagine this traitor, and he puts in open brackets, Tar Baby wanted to take control of the UNC. So he felt the need to reference Mr. Lala's skin color, because of course Mr. Lala is not a light-skinned East Indian, as Mr. Ragu is, so Pasadi Sessa is, you know. But therefore, if that is the case, then I guess Rudal Munilal is also a Tar Baby, because Rudal Munilal isn't a light-skinned East Indian. I guess this guy, the mayor of Shogunas, is also a Tar Baby because he isn't a light-skinned East Indian either. And Aram, well, they give him the boot, but he isn't a light-skinned East Indian. So is it that in their own party, the light-skinned East Indians refer to the dark-skinned ones as Tar Baby? I know that is a term that used to be used in reference to persons of African descent. In fact, as a child growing up, it was a term that I would have heard many times used in reference to my own self. In fact, when I was going to St. Mary's College, I would have heard persons of other ethnicities refer to me as that. But yeah, you know, that was probably because I was accustomed. I am quite happy with my dark skin. It's never been a bother for me. So, just saying. But they're referring to their own along those racial lines. So they're not even willing to accept the dark-skinned East Indians, calling them Tar Baby. An accomplished individual like Larry Lala, senior counsel, who is more deserving of senior counsel than the leader of the UNC, who was called out by her own attorney as a fraud, Israel Khan, in respect of her receipt and giving herself silk. He outlined what were the criteria to qualify for silk and indicated that she did not satisfy not even one of the criteria. But if they could call their own that, if they could refer to their own, a member of their own party, as a Tar Baby because of the color of his skin, what are they saying about persons like myself whose hair texture is not like Mr. Lala's? And whose skin color is darker than Mr. Lala's? What do you think they refer to me as and people who look like me? But you're asking us for our votes. Yes, asking us for our votes to help the UNC to win. But behind closed doors, we know what your thought process is. And when you see people of dark skin and their hair may not be like yours, what it is some of the things you all see. And this is just one example of several that I could quote for you, but I just don't have the time this morning. We'll visit it on another time. But one of my biggest concerns about those persons who talking nonsense, but me feel I voting, I think I sit in this one out, and all of that nonsense. Throw your minds back, and you all know I don't like to talk the racial talk, right? But throw your minds back. You'll have heard me speak on this incident on more than one occasion, that as a young schoolboy just starting St. Mary's College, in the wake of the 1995 general election, 17-17-2, when the UNC came into power by virtue of the coalition with the NAR, and they got those 2 seats, and they formed the government. And that wall in Tunapuna, right, just after the Panyard, where the Panyard used to be there, after you pass the school, the primary school on the corner by the street where the cinema is, right? That street with the police station there. And that wall on the bus route, traveling to and from school. And that the big emblazoned on the wall is Indian time now. And as a young man, it affected me to this day. I still find that was offensive to the health. It's Indian time now. I saw a post with a psychologist by the name of Sule Joseph, who recounted an experience that he had recently going to a popular restaurant and lounge in Shogunas, I think is in Heartland Plaza, somewhere there. Right? He and some friends went to have a little lime, after work lime and so on, and he went to the bar to purchase some drinks. And as he went to the bar, he indicated that there was a group of East Indian men sitting by the bar, and he was trying to make his way to the bar to place the order. And he asked for an excuse, and they didn't want to shift. And he asked again, "Excuse me, can I just get by here to the thing?" And one of them mumbled something and dismissed him. So he removed a stool that was between two of them to be able to make his way. And that's when the tirade started on him, telling him about, "We don't want all your kind here. All your money ain't good here. Hurry up and order your drinks and go. I go pay for it. We don't want all your money ain't good. Go from here." That kind of thing. Always coming up in we place and looking to spoil it. It has already started, and they have not won the election. And the nastiness that we saw in 2015 when they lost the election, all of the nastiness that we were reading about on social media, and the nasty comments that they boldly came out and said, calling people monkey and who is ape and gorilla and eating bananas and all that stupid talk, and advising businessmen of East Indian descent not to jack up the prices for persons of African descent, and telling doubles vendors to put feces in the doubles for persons of African descent. We all have to live here. All have to live here after the general election. But when it is their leader could make comments, when it is that one of our own finds himself before the courts for wrongdoing while in office, and the only thing she could find to dismiss that is to say this is a PNM smear campaign that wants to make all East Indians look like they are thieves. What message is she sending to these persons who have shown themselves to be inclined towards racism? When we lost in 2010, you didn't see PNM people going on social media and making all these kind of nasty comments. In 2020, when they lost, and the young lady from Ramsaran, Orange Juice or whatever it is, made the comments that caused some problems for her father's company, right? Referring to people as cockroaches and all these kind of things. Make no mistake, that come the 29th of April, once they would have lost, you will see it. You will see it. Facebook will be inundated with the most nastiest and racist comments coming from that camp. But you have people like Jolene John. You're going to represent Kuva North on behalf of the UNC. You're going from house to house, asking for votes, but plenty of them don't like you. And it has nothing to do with competence or anything like that. They don't like you because you don't look like them. They don't like you because you do not fit the mold that they think should form the leadership of their party. And that is why the best you could hope to reach is deputy political leader, but never political leader. Never. And some of them would much rather vote for Makila Pandey than to cast the ballots for you, because they cannot bring themselves, Jolene, to vote for you because of how you look. They will not do it. No matter how UNC they are, they rather not vote or give the vote to Makila, but they will not give it to you. Those who tell themselves is a UNC stronghold, so even if they don't vote for you, they would still win. But they cannot bring themselves to do it. And you, like a fool, go in there. You enabler of wrongdoing. But anyway, to each his own. That's your choice. You chose that. But the rest of us should not have to endure that for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Right? Because you enablers allow it to happen. You enablers allow it to happen. Right? And I cannot tolerate the idea, or don't even want to fathom the idea of having to endure that kind of nastiness for 5 years. And we know they're going straight down to the wire. And that could lead to other things, right? To skirmishes and scuffles, because if they're no longer afraid to come on social media with their profiles open to say these things. And then when it is you respond to them, or you go into their profile and person make comments, they're cussing your mother, so and all this kind of thing, and all your so and so, your dirty PNM, this and all of that. And you know what's even worse? Some of these foolish influencers who take in the money and talking about yellow is the code and cussing the government. These same people who you're trying to promote will come on social media and talk about where you live in. Matara French, I think she's from Silat or Bitam. When a couple of years ago, when they were saying the worst of things about you, when you're living in your one room, right? The video you had when with the monkey and the monkey was between her legs and all kind of the nastiest of things they said about you. You're low life and all kind of thing from Bitam, and nothing good could come out of Bitam and Silats except criminals. Only thing coming out there is criminals. Every time they hear a crime or some home invasion, one of them said the other day, going through comments with some home invasion that was reported on CNC3 and reading the comments, and the first thing this idiot would say, Negroes again. He sure is Negroes again. They didn't identify the perpetrators, And when people jump on his case to ask him what nonsense you're getting on, why it had to be racial, and how you know that, he's saying, well, you ever hear anybody of any other race invading people's homes? There's always rowdy children and there's the PNM children who just be doing them thing. That is the stigma that some of you have created. So that when you take the 30 pieces of silver, the filthy lucre, so that you could promote that party, right, to put them in office. They don't like you. They don't. And they will continue after the elections to still say the same nasty things. But we were saying, no, watch at them. Yeah. Remember 2010 to 2015 when one of them talked about what they needed to do to bring the blacks in Woodford Square. Well, they didn't use blacks, they used the Negroes. Put the Negroes in Woodford Square, get them a pack of vital supplies, cricks, and pull a hose and give them to drink water. So give them dry cricks and water. That's what they said. Put the Negroes in to protest against the PNM in Woodford Square. Get them a pack of vital supplies and pull a water hose and give it to them. That's how they see you all. Right? That's how they see you. But understand something. While the supporters of the UNC are only focused on Parliament and who they put in Parliament, understand that governance is more than just Parliament, right? Governance also includes all of these state enterprises. Governance includes persons who will be serving as ambassadors and high commissioners and so on. And you want competent, capable, qualified people to serve in these positions. The People's Partnership had a difficulty the first go round, 2010 to 2015, in finding people who could serve in these capacities. So that when they first came into office, you may recall Mr. Warner talking, hey, all you who want state board, submit your resignations or you will be fired. And everybody did what was told, submitted their resignations. But they weren't thinking that on some of these state enterprise boards, signatories for the checks and so on are board members. So you say, submit your resignation, people submitted their resignations and went their merry way. And then when month-end come and time to pay salaries, now they realize, but wait now, it don't have nobody to sign the check. It don't have anybody to approve the automated clearinghouse uploads, because all you fire everybody, you fire the signatories. So they now have to do a mad scramble to try and go and call back people and say, well, here now we didn't realize. So you could come back and hold on for a little bit, because until we're able to facilitate the changeover and we could find people to serve on the board and to sign checks and all of these different things, it never occurred to them. And a lot of these directors say, no, I'm not coming back. You all told me to go, I'm gone. That's all a problem to treat with. So some of you all who working in these state enterprises and state entities, beware that when it is you see should they come back into office, God forbid, and they do that, but they don't have competent people to serve in these positions. That is why they had the false papers crew. People submitting false certifications and so on to be able to satisfy the legal requirements for them to sit on these boards. We're talking boards like T&Tech, where the general manager didn't have the qualifications. We had persons sitting as judges on the industrial court bench and did not have the qualifications, because people of integrity don't want to associate with the UNC. So they had to scrape the bottom of the barrel, scrape the bottom of the lagoon to get people. Look at of the 39 candidates, they couldn't even field a proper 39 candidates. They had to go and buy people, just as they did in 2010 to 2015, pay a man $11.625 million to become the Minister of Finance. That's what they had to do, buy people who are supposed to be persons of quality. The PNM had no troubles, no difficulties in getting persons to be able to select 41 standard bearers. Selecting 41 out of a pool of significantly more than that. Because in my case, there were 7 of us who screened for Malaba Mausika after Lisa passed. 7. So the PNM had no problems in persons coming forward to serve. So they didn't have to pay anybody any money to come forward. Even in the constituencies that we know, the likelihood is we would not win. But them, they can't say the same. So understand, when you're talking yellow is the code and yellow is the code, and we going is UNC all the way, UNC and proud, put them in office. And when it is they can't find people to serve on these boards and you in problems, don't argue. Don't complain. You vote for that. When it is that you see you put God out of your collective thoughts, so go and vote for them. And they come in office and decide to be vindictive, because I've been telling you all for the last 9 years and some. Rudal Munilal has it in his craw for Shamfa Kojo. Because you all remember when the PNM came in 2015, and during her maiden speech in the lower house, Shamfa said, "We in charge now. Deal with it." That upset Munilal. He has been carrying that as a millstone on his back for the last 9.5 years, waiting for the opportunity to throw it back at Shamfa. So understand, when you put God out of your collective thoughts, to play fast and loose with your voters, Mr. Manning say, and to put them back in office, and they decide that they're going to starve the PNM constituencies of resources, and the PNM MPs cannot deliver as you would like us to. Don't come and complain that when it is you come to me and I tell you, well, look, I'm trying, but they're not playing ball. They don't want to give. They don't want to pass money. If it is that you're coming, they're building houses in my constituency, but don't want to give me a quota to be able to assist person in my constituency who are looking for houses, don't come and blame me. You all voted for that. If they don't want to assist the PNM control constituencies, because remember, they have been claiming geographical discrimination for the last 9 years, and some claiming, oh, the PNM are doing nothing in their constituencies. But when it is that they had the sorting ceremony a couple months ago in Guanapo for the launch of another booster station and stuff up on that side, the MP for Komuto Manzanilla, in whose constituency that project falls, he was in high praise of Marvin Gonzalez and was telling all the things that Marvin did as Minister of Public Utilities to help Komuto Manzanilla. But all the time they came in with PNM are doing nothing. In fact, some of what I have been hearing working in the constituency, some PNM people feel that the PNM was doing too much in UNC constituencies. They felt that the PNM should have abandoned the UNC constituencies and focused all of the resources and efforts on the PNM control constituencies. But you can't do that. The government is responsible for all 41 constituencies, even those that are not within their control, because the resources of state do not belong to these constituencies that the government controls. But they don't want to understand that. But the UNC, they have no inhibitions whatsoever about doing that, about starving PNM constituencies for resources and focusing it all on to solidify the hold and the stranglehold that they have on their constituencies. And maybe the marginals, if they manage to get any, they'll probably focus to try and see if it is that they could strengthen their position there for the next election. But rest assured, PNM people, and as Shamfa Kojo once said, it's only the PNM could mash up the PNM. The only way the PNM could lose an election is when PNM people say they are voting. They're not as likely to vote for the UNC. You might have one or two who buy into the propaganda and the stupidness, but they're in the minority. But as in 2010, the PNM lost the general election. Why? Because in Arima, which is considered a PNM stronghold, what happened? PNM people was vexed because Mr. Manning didn't give them the candidate that they wanted, and they decided, we are voting PNM. We staying home. Some of them went and voted for the partnership, and they give you a soft-spoken pastor because all they didn't get penny. In my own constituency, all they buy into the nonsense and went and voted for Anil Roberts, that loudmouth lout. Voted for him. Lahoketa Talparo, again, Sangri Grandi, Lopino Bonne West. PNM people again, who decided me are voting? Because you all bought into the lies and the propaganda about Manning is a emperor, and Manning thief, and called a heart thief, and Manning built church for his spiritual advisor, and all this stupid talk that you all bought into. And either didn't vote, and some of you went to vote for them and give them your vote. And then for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days, the rest of us who had the good sense to put our X where it belonged next to the Balize, we had to endure because of what some of you all did, and set this country's development trajectory back 10 years, while you allowed them the opportunity to thief and raid the treasury. And some of you all today still talking that nonsense, even in the face of knowing what it is they gave between 2010 to 2015. So they make a few cosmetic changes. They get rid of the one who was fired from 2 public utilities companies. They get rid of the one who was under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. All right, they get rid of 2 of them. But make no mistake, Ravi Rachiram, former member of parliament for Kuva North, who was under police investigation, or is under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. I worked with him for a period of time some years ago, and I knew his ambition. This man always wanted to be a member of parliament. He was obsessed with that. For every time when he would go and he would screen for a seat and didn't get through. So when he finally got through in 2020, it was like his prayers was answered. So you think he taken this lightly just so for them to bust his throat? After that was his lifelong ambition. Ravi Rachiram was one of Kamala Prasad-Bissessa's most loyal soldiers. Anywhere she is, he there. The only thing he never do was to lie down on his belly so she could walk on his back, and if she had asked him to do that, he would have do it. She has on numerous occasions at the Monday Night Forum meetings and other meetings, other platforms, singled him out for praise. So don't be fooled. They removed them to fool you, and she's talking about she has finally purged the party. Purged the party, my foot. But you put the man who's on $1 million bail for fraud, misbehavior in public office, and conspiracy. You move him from Claxton Bay and send him to where it is, Caroni Central. That is a purge. He who you're holding up as a potential future minister of energy, and who is likely to end up in handcuffs or behind bars while sitting as the minister of energy, and that making sense to you? You retain Munilal. This man who has questions to answer as to why it is based on transcripts from a judgment. We are reading text messages or WhatsApp messages where he's giving instructions to one of his employees, well, somebody who for whom he was serving as line minister, telling them to prepare checks for contractors and bring it to him for him to deliver to the contractor. If a PNM minister had done that, the UNC would have never finished talk about that. The fully done supporters would have been talking about that morning, noon, and night, tea, breakfast, and dinner. But they don't hear them talking that. This man who would have presided over the Ministry of Housing, $800 million in housing can't be found. The money can't be found, and the housing can't be found either. And we had the then Minister of Housing, Camille Robinson-Regis, raise this issue during the budget debate in 2023. We are in 2025, and to date, Rudal Munilal has not spoken to that issue. Jolene John, who was the head of HDC, has not spoken to that issue. Kamala Prasad-Bissessa, who was Prime Minister at the time, has not spoken to that issue. 800 million, almost $1 billion in housing can't be found. And then when it is that we have every time that I walk, I have people telling me, our house, our HDC house. I have my application inside for the last 10 years, for the last 20 years. And now they're telling me I'm too old to qualify for a mortgage, but I need a house because I need something to leave for my children. Every single walk, I encounter people telling me that, boss, what you could do for me? I'm asking you from now. I know you're coming in, but I just let you know when you come in, I come in your office because so long I trying to get a house, and I talked to the previous MP and she was trying to do something for me, but yes, she come and pass. So I don't know where that is. So if you could find out for me what's the status said, I have a family and I need a house and I need a house. $800 million. You know how many houses that could have built to satisfy the demand that some of these people are making? Rightly so. Just remember, Patrick Manning built Victoria Keys. That was for low-income housing to ease the strain. And what did the UNC do? Increase the income ceiling to qualify for an HDC house, the family income from 25,000 to 45, so that the lawyers and doctor friends and engineers could get an apartment with a sea view. Because apparently Victoria Keys was too good for the average citizen, for whom the HDC, who is the HDC's main clients, that was too good for them. They're not good enough to sit down on the balcony and rock back in the afternoon on their lounge chair and just take in the ferries coming in, or the cruise ships heading out, or the sun setting in the west. No. That is big shot area. That ain't good for you. What Manning was thinking when he did that. So you turn what was supposed to be a 3-bedroom apartment into a 2-bedroom apartment and put in swimming pool and gym and covered parking and all kind of other facilities and make it upscale, so that your friends, family, and financiers could live in the West. And when this administration came in, because of the amount of money that was spent there and the kind of amenities that they put in there, the government could not give it out to the low-income earners because it would cost them too much money. So now a 2-bedroom apartment, I think there, or was a 1-bedroom, or whatever it is. I mean, prices starting at 1.8, 1.4, 1.8 million dollars. That is out of the reach of the average citizen. But just understand, you whose name has been in the HDC for the longest while, you're holding your reference number and hoping and praying every day you get a call to tell you, hey, you're coming out of allocations and it's time to receive your keys. All those units there, you could have been the beneficiary of that. Napoyo Court behind Larry Gomes Stadium there, almost finished when they came into office in 2010. And what did they do? They left it there to languish and allow the vandals to come and take everything. Today, those units are completed and additional ones have been built and it's been distributed. Beaufort in St. James there, down in the back by the Western Cemetery, up on the hill. They abandoned that too for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Those could have been completed. And some of you all who have been renting would have been renting for that 5 years, could have been building equity in your property. But they abandoned it. This administration came in and finished it and added units and distributed it. Real Spring in Valsay and all of these housing projects that were started under the Manning administration that the People's Partnership abandoned, that they could have finished and give all year. But in the last year of their term in office, come talking about 100 houses a week. Who built those 100 houses? Who built it? Why it is they had to wait until the last year in office or just months before they demitted office? But Ms. Cho Chung decided to pay the families of the divers $1 million each, and they're telling you, oh, that was an election gimmick. But when the UNC was giving out 100 houses a week, that wasn't an election gimmick. No, that was just them doing their work. Right? Anything that the government does over the course of the next 3 weeks would be seen as an election gimmick. As if when you elect a government, they're supposed to do everything in the first 2 years, and the next 3 years they're supposed to rock back on their laurels. Look, miss me with that BS. But it's 1 or 2, and I told y'all I had to jump out at 2 o'clock. Let me see what the weather looking like. It looked like you'll hold up, so yeah. So there are some recordings going around. Alleged recordings between Fali Chavez Agustin and Kamla Prasad Bisesa. And the most recent one that I heard also includes Jillian John. All right? Now, both Fali and Kamla Prasad Bisesa have vehemently denied that there is any relationship, that they've ever had any conversation with respect to forming any sort of coalition or anything like that. They vehemently denied. In fact, last night on the news, Prasad Bisesa said that she never had no conversation like that with Fali. And she went on to say as well, the last time she and Fali had a conversation was with respect to when the Tobago Autonomy Bill was before the Parliament. Okay? Fali is on record on numerous times as saying he never had no discussion with Kamla. The TPP is not interested in any sort of accommodation with Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC under any circumstance. All right. So these recordings, we heard the first one, we heard the second one. Some of you haven't heard it at all. In fact, when the media tried to contact Fali yesterday, he was unavailable for comment. But they had a public meeting yesterday, and rather than deny, he said, he's not, with this election, he's not going to be distracted by voice notes and any video recordings and so on. Same thing he said when AudioGate came out, right? I remember AudioGate that has been under investigation since Jesus was in Pampers. That's still ongoing. Yes, that investigation. At first, there was deny. Then he wasn't saying nothing at all. They were waiting for him to make a statement. And after a couple of weeks, he came out and made a statement. But the rest of the members of the THA standing behind him like a set of bobbleheads. And every time he says something, and they only going so. You had one who walked with napkins or paper towels conveniently, and she crying and only patting her eye. How they could do that? Yes, yeah. We got a full performance worthy of an Oscar or an Emmy. Yeah? Standing behind him and if you see them. So he admitted that he didn't see nothing wrong with that. So it went from it was fake, it's PNM propaganda, and then you admit. The other day when it was revealed that Faith Brebner, the Secretary for Health, cussed out some of her employees when one man came to work with her slippers because the boots that they gave him was too tight, and he drew it to the attention of the secretary and telling him, well, look, you see, there's a situation, telling her there's a situation and whatnot, and she will make him to understand where you want me to get the money from. You want me to pull it out, man. certain part of her anatomy. Right? And some of you are familiar with that talk, you know. You have children and they ask you for something. They say, where will I get it from? Or they know what is coming after that. Right? So she decided to go down that road with the workers who just voicing the concerns of the situation. Right? They denied it at first. Oh, it was fake news, PNM propaganda. And then in the THA, in the assembly chamber itself, she admitted and said, yes, I said so, and I asked him if he wanted me to pull the money from out my so and so. So we have this latest episode, and they're telling you it's AI. That is not real, it's AI. The PNM using AI software to create these things. This is email gate all over again. Really? Well, I'll play it for a little here. But you see, when you have people like Shane Mohammed, who the media loves to run to for comment because he's supposed to be some kind of political analyst or whatever, and he buying into this cock and bull story and trying to tell you and tell me that that is AI, and he doesn't believe that it is genuine. So he probably heard the first recording. But we have a longer recording. I don't know if I could play the whole thing because you're hearing some background noise, so it mightn't be too clear, but eventually it clears up a little bit. So the PNM got people now to sit down and you know how AI videos sound. You could tell this is AI as opposed to. So lengthy conversation. So they sit down and write out a whole script and then put it in AI for AI to say these things and whatnot. I mean, they really take people for fools. But Mr. Manning used to say, show me a liar and I'll show you a thief. And right now you have two of the political leaders who have candidates vying for this general election have shown themselves to be quintessential liars, inveterate liars. They can't deny, well, they've denied it, but you be the judge. All right? You be the judge. So let me get this for you. Let's go. And you tell me if this is AI. Right here.
Speak the truth in small things.
Yeah, let me.
It raises a question, ladies and gentlemen. If they cannot speak the truth in small things, imagine what they will do in big things. My mother used to say, show me a liar and I'll show you a thief. It raises a...
Right. So let me get this here.
Between the two parties. TPP is not a member or aligned to any political party in Trinidad at all. We had no meetings with the UNC. We did not meet up with the UNC at any hotel in Tobago. We did not meet up with the UNC anywhere in Tobago. We did not meet up with the UNC anywhere in Trinidad either. And we have not had those meetings. We have had 0 meetings in person, and we have had 0 meetings via Zoom. Let me make that categorically clear.
Okay.
Now, that brings us to the second area, which is how do we collaborate in a more meaningful way? Because I want to set up a line of collaboration between the both parties. Right, so there's need for to keep some formal communication.
Another thing the embarrassment of some people.
No.
You did send some resources for Europe. I'm hearing that you may not have received it. For the last election.
As in the
Right, yes. Yes.
As in the election at this ended?
Yes, sir. So I give you some money, I won't call the names, but I don't want this is all about your business. But I sent some money.
This is okay.
No, I won't do that in our meeting. I sent some money because you all have some big thing around Christmas or before Christmas. Then for this recent THA election, I also sent some money.
Well, the THA election, however, I think you Christian Moore,
yes, I did.
$100,000 came. That came to the party, that came safely. But the collaboration that I'm talking about is more than this money.
Fali and Kamla saying that didn't happen. Fali is telling you that is, well, not Fali, but you have people like Shane Mohammed saying that is AI, Prasad Bisasa saying that is AI, she never had no conversation. We're going again.
miscreants become a little bit more sophisticated. They have access to technology now. So I know there will piece words here, piece words there, and try to patch it together to form a narrative. But I want to warn you and to say this. For the rest of this campaign, I do not care to respond to the foolishness because Tobago has serious issues, and because they are short on ideas, because they failed on delivery, they must concoct whatever they think is necessary to distract you. But Tobagonians today are smart. This is not 2013. This is not 20 years ago where we are afraid of people and afraid of our names calling with people. So call my name with whoever you want. Whoever you want. I know I'm a son of the Most High, and that's the most important thing for me. And I am confident that every move I make is lawful and morally sound and in keeping with the principles of my faith.
Tongue should have tie up, as Pandey once said. You going again?
Categorically clear. And I am very confident that no one can dispute that which I am saying now. Very confident. 0 meetings with the UNC. 0 meetings with the UNC.
Ansel Dennis has accused the TPP of being agents of the UNC.
They are just continuing their version of their racist Calcutta ship talk. The TPP is not a member or aligned to any political party in Trinidad at all. The PDP stands alone, we'll win alone, we will lose alone if we have to. But we are not interested in joining any political party anywhere else in the country for that matter. And so we represent proudly, boldly, Tobago as an indigenous Tobago party.
We could do it, but I'm not going to be shy of that. But the collaboration I'm talking about is the kind that will help us to defeat the can cannot win the general election. And let me tell you why. Number one, the data is trending in such a way that it's clear the PLM needs the 2 Tobago seats to win a general election. If we subtract the 2 Tobago seats from PLM's pot, you know what will have happened? You will have won the election by 1 seat. And then there will be 2, and then PLM. And our 2 definitely would not have joined the PLM because it was and still is our position that we can't join the PLM. If we have to give a support to someone to form government, it will not be PLM. Because they are our enemies in Tobago. We can't support in Trinidad and then come and campaign against in Tobago. It just doesn't make sense. And so we need to defeat the PLM. That's the challenge. But the one caveat that I explained this to
This is not disrespect, I'm just calling Saddam.
No, sure.
She just calling Saddam. She mean no disrespect. We're going again.
No, what I said to me personally that his aim is to become the top black contractor in the country. And he wants to rival all the Eastern and Syrian contractors. That is his mission. And of course, this is on the right hand of God. And I'm sorry that he's God's best friend. All men are not created equal with this particular deliverer that we have. And one has been his best friend for a very long time.
So it's not just what black, you're a friend.
No, of course I'm a friend and family. And the Warren family is also from Mason originally as well. So this is friendship that has gone many years now. Because Hotel Charles in 1996 and 2001 was insisting that we facilitate some capacity building among the local contractors there. Prior to 96, every major contract was done at the contractor. Because we just didn't have the capacity.
We have a chief justice who's from Tobago.
But that doesn't matter.
I'm not sure.
Well, let me say to
what
you.
his politics is.
Let me say to you.
I believe chief forces are clear, right? So any case like this, I really have to be prepared to go to the councils. I don't expect the way Archie manages his dockets, I don't expect this to land in a fancy facade docket, right? Because fancy facade is a little too unorthodox and liberal in this kind of case. So I know this will go. This definitely will have to go into the country. Be prepared to go to the council business. I also think it's something the court will consider quickly, because the court will see it as a matter of urgency, and any judge whose docket is landing will want to move on a matter like this postings, I think. As I said, this doesn't take away from the politician and preparing for the election. Now, that brings us to the second area, which is how do we collaborate and how we differ. Because I want to set up a line of collaboration between both parties. Right, so there's need for to keep some formal communication, not
I'll ask you another thing. The embarrassing for some people.
No.
You did send some resources from Europe. I hear that you may not have received it for the last election.
As in the TH election?
Yes.
As in the TH election that just ended?
Yeah.
So you hear Kamala saying she sent resources. Where do resources come from? You have money to send resources to Tobago to assist the TPP, the PDP, wherever the hell it is. But you had to be shaking down your councillors and shaking down your MPs to give 10% of the salary to pay the light bill in your headquarters and to pay the rent. So where that money came from? Let us not forget, the UNC has never commented on anything taking place in Tobago since this administration came in. When they had the audio gate, they had nothing to say about that. When they had the issue with Trevor James and the rental or the lease of the private jet, they had nothing to say about that, right? The issue recently with Faith cussing out the workers, she had nothing to say about that. Nothing. When Watson Duke made his allegations about Farley coming through the airport in Tobago with bag of money from Trinidadian contractors, they had nothing to say about that. When you had that situation with the Trinidadian contractor and the Newsday reporter, when the Newsday reporter was asking him questions, and he asked the reporter, well, your Negroes don't understand English or something like that. And then afterwards come and say he said Newsday, not Negroes. They said nothing about that. But when it is Farley went to the chamber and produced recordings of one Akil Abdullah making allegations saying that he was in meeting with the Prime Minister and meeting with the Commissioner of Police and all kind of thing to plot conspiracies against the Chief Secretary and the THA and the TPP and so on. The UNC had plenty to say about that though. They were calling for a thorough police investigation, and this is a travesty and abuse of power and all kind of thing, and the Prime Minister must be investigated. They went to town on that, but have never commented on any of the allegations made against Farley Augustine and the current THA, and now we understand why. That is different, and we have been saying here for the longest while, the TPP is the UNC's Tobago arm, and they have been denying it. But here it is that you are hearing conversations, but they want to tell you that is AI. So AI put in the knocking of plates in the back because clearly they haven't lunch or whatever it is, and the pauses in the speech and all them kind of thing. And they want you to believe that. But Tobagonians, you all have always been held to a higher standard, right? That even if you support a party, if it is that party playing up in the monthly salary, which is why you all voted out the PNM in the THA 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, you all have shown yourself to be people of principle. And ask yourself, if there is nothing wrong with the TPP, the current party in control in Tobago, aligning themselves with the UNC, then why doesn't Farley just come out and say the truth? Why is Kamla Persad-Bissessar trying to hide it? Why are they both trying to hide it? There is nothing wrong with it, and you know that the people of Tobago will have no issue with it and that they will welcome it. Well, then come out and say, hold hands and say, yes, we are part of the coalition of interests because we believe that the UNC would serve Tobago's interests better. Why are you trying to hide it? But Farley Augustine needs to understand something, that if perchance, God forbid, I have no word to knock on, the UNC were to win the election. Let's say you all were successful in getting 1 or 2 of the Tobago seats, and it is necessary to form a coalition to take government. And as he said there, the PNM must not win the election. and should they win one or two of these seats and they are required to, that seat is, or seats should be the deciding factor, that they will not be joining with the PNM. So he has made it lucidly clear they will not be joining with the PNM. Right? And he has worked out the maths, and he's telling Kamala, well, the data is showing that the PNM wouldn't win the 2 seats, and the PNM wouldn't win, and whatever, and so on. So they've already had that discussion. Remember when they had the debate on the Tobago Autonomy Bill a few months ago, and while it was at the committee stage, you had Saddam Hussein talking about he just get an email, a WhatsApp message from the chief secretary with certain amendments and so on. What are you doing with Saddam Hussein's cell phone number? What reason? If all you have no dealings whatsoever, no, you've had no conversations, whether in person, via Zoom, you've had no discussion whatsoever about any type of accommodation, then what you doing with Saddam Hussein's cell phone number, Fali? Saddam is your friend? That's your drinking buddy? All you went to school together? You all pitch marbles together? What you doing with his number if you want no dealings with the UNC, as Faith Brebner told us? You all not interested? You all going it alone? What are you doing with his number? What are you doing with Kamala's number? I can understand maybe if you get Kamala's number, right? But what are you doing with Saddam's number? What are you doing with Jolene's number? That one more for me to play for you. Let me get it here.
So I give you some money. I'm not going to call the names because I don't want this is all your party business. But I sent some money. No, I wouldn't do that in a open meeting.
I wouldn't do that in an open meeting. Right? So I sent some money, but I wouldn't do that in an open meeting. I ain't gonna call any names, So clearly, it's an open meeting, so they're having lunch. So it was a meeting, an in-person meeting. All right, we're going again.
Send some money because you're having some big thing around Christmas or before Christmas, some kind of launch. I think you have to even something you have to lead.
Oh, that was 2018. That was 2018.
All right, so you send some money.
So since 2018, she's sending money for them. 2018. 7 years now. But after he became chief secretary, we never had no meeting. We had meeting in person. We didn't meet via Zoom. No meeting. But since 2018, they were who? PDP. When Watson Duke was the leader. And we were asking where the PDP getting money from. Where the PDP getting money from? And how are they receiving this money? Because they had no constitution. They didn't have an executive. So they had no, aside from Watson being the political leader, and I think Fali was a deputy political leader, they had no chairman, they had no treasurer, no general secretary, all of which are positions. They had no, what you call this, boy? Oh gosh, the bylaws. All of these are things when you go to open a bank account for a political party, the bank asks you for these things because your bylaws will indicate things like who could, how, with respect to loans, if you don't have a party constitution and all of these different. They had none of these things. So how were they getting the money? You couldn't write them a check because they had no bank account. So which means any monies that they were receiving was in cold hard cash. And here it is that Prasad Bisesa is saying, admitting she sent money for them. Where did this money come from? So Mrs. Prasad Bisesa did Fali Augustine and Watson Duke, when they filed there, because the money had to come to them personally, because as I said, the TPP would not have had a bank account in those days. They did not have the requirements to open an account, so which means they received cash from the then leader of the opposition. So when Prasad Bisesa filed her declaration, when Fali and Watson Duke filed their declaration, Integrity in Public Life Declaration, did they declare that they received this money? Was that declaration made? I just asking. Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, over to you. What is going on here? We continue.
Then for this recent PhD election, I had also sent some money. And then somebody else called and asked me, They say, oh, why do we need the money for you? Well, we don't get it. So this is two occasions. It's not a great big deal because we have just come out of our general.
Right. So,
oh, and then the general to be sent some money.
Right. So let me start with the general.
So she sent money in 2018. She sent money in 2020 for the general election for the PDP to fight the general election. And then she sent money again, based on what we're hearing here, for the THA election. Where that money came from? Where did that money come from, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa? If your party ain't had no money, or they're talking about Balize House, Santa Maria's money, or they had to sell sugar cake and Tolom and Polori, you ain't have money, but you had money to send to the PDP in 2018 for the THA election. You had money to send for them in 2020 for the general election. While you fighting a general election, you send money for them. So hoping that they had won the 2 seats, that could have helped you. That is why in the 2020 general election, you all may recall that on election night, they were busy when they put in figures and so on. They were scoring under the 2 Tobago seats, and people were asking them, well, why are they putting figures there, and you all didn't have a representative there? You all remember that? On election night in 2020, we understand now why it is they were doing that. Because they had interest. So based on what we just hearing here, money was sent to the PDP in 2020 to fight the 2 seats so that the UNC was counting it in their column. But we continue in the interest of time.
Right, so let me start with general. In general, we have no account anymore, right? You don't have to call it, I know who they So we didn't receive any money. Of course, we saw money was spent on different things, but money was necessarily spent through the party and therefore not accounted for properly and used properly.
So money was spent. We didn't receive the money for the general election. We saw monies being spent, but the monies didn't come to the party, so it was not accounted for properly. So who the money went to? Watson? And Watson hold on to the money? All right. So he was just spending the money on things and giving the party the impression, well, as Watson funding everything, but they didn't know that the money come. He didn't know the money come from UNC, so he said. But he know the money came. All right.
For the THA elections, however,
let's go for it.
Hold on, for the THA elections, however, I think through Christine Moore,
yes,
$100,000 came. That came to the party, that came safely, and the party, children and so on, used it appropriately. So notice the difference between. I can only talk to $100,000. But the collaboration that I'm talking about is more than this money. I mean, granted, we could do with money. So I'm not going to be shy of that. But the collaboration.
So we could use the money, right? Granted, I'm not going to be shy about that. We could use the money.
Talking about is the kind that will help us to defeat the PM can cannot win the general election. And let me tell you why. Number one, the data is trending in such a way that it's clear the PLM needs the 2 Tobago seats to win a general election. If we subtract the 2 Tobago seats from PLM's count, you know what would have happened? You would have won the election by 1 seat. And then there will be 2, and then PLM. And our 2 definitely would not have joined the PLM because it was and still is our position that we can't join the PLM if we have to give us support to someone to form government. We could not be PLM because they are enemies in today, but we can't support them together and then come and campaign against them today. It just doesn't make sense. And so we need to defeat the PLM. That's the challenge. But the one caveat, and I explained this to.
This is not disrespect, I'm just calling this.
No, sure.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The one caveat I raised with Ms. John the last time we met is that
So one caveat that I want to make, Ms. John, the last time we met. So what we're hearing here wasn't the first meeting. You heard him say that, eh? So one caveat, Ms. John, the last time we met. But you heard me play. We never meet UNC. No meeting in person. No meeting via Zoom. No discussion. Show me a liar and I'll show you a thief.
Collaboration must be on the table, so to speak, for now. And I did explain why. Because unfortunately, COVID has turned a lot of the beginners into convenient xenophobes and racists, unfortunately.
So he's saying that Orville London turned a lot of Tobagonians into convenient xenophobes and racists, right? So Orville London turned some Tobagonians into xenophobes, so they don't like East Indians. All right? Okay, we're going again.
But as I said to my team, we went out to change that. We went out to change back the conversation. Unfortunately and unfairly, UNC will be given an unnecessary bad name today. I'll show you here that.
We were appearing that in 2010. A lot of them have been there before 2010.
Because when he to me, both
people were upright and not as racist as should be there.
I think no. By beating them. Because
Tobago people are not as brighter and not as racist as Trinidadian people, you know. Oh, so now she know Trini is racist? Okay. All right.
Once we beat them, you can go with it. You can change people's minds. And people's minds are changed with success, with actual relatable, practical success stories. We win the election, we show meaningful collaboration publicly, and show benefits to Tobagonians in a respectful way, both sides, and Tobagonians don't consider have both problem and it. Because the truth is, every time Tobago got any form of autonomy, the support really came, and this might sound racist, came from Indo-Trinidadians more than Afro-Trinidadians. Almost every election, somebody said to the last general election, Neil Wilson died, who was building up starting chairman of the party, so the godfather came to Tobago. We have
You said, well, these are the phobia and the fear and crazy in your narrative. And I remember now, I told you, and he saw, when he came, and they saw the high seas, and he was going, and he was becoming, he just said, I just said, phobia. And I was
I'll just bring it to the fore to say that we just manage the collaboration, mindful of that.
And Tracy.
Yeah, she has a Madrid. She has a Madrid.
Because I feel that the younger ones should be the politics better. Because London is a devil, but you never know. You guys have the case, he gives you a nice
Yeah, and he talks about it very nice. But what I think is charismatic to talk. Yeah.
London is a devil, but you never know. Tracy. Yeah, she evil. She's an evil woman. That's Jolene John. So the PNM went through all of this just to come up with this whole script to have a conversation between Fali and Jolene John and Kamala Prasad Bisesa. You all heard for yourself. That sounded like AI to you? You're hearing things knocking in the back plate, knocking and all kind of thing. Well, that whoever did, if that is AI, whoever did that, they went a great deal of effort to make it sound real, right? To go and talk about money pass in 2018. And so look how long this relationship between Fali and Kamala Prasad Bisesa has been in trade. So we understand now, as I said before, why the UNC was counting the 2 Tobago seats in their column in the 2020 general election, sorry. And so when Fali talking about, we never meet, we never know discussion, we never talk, no accommodation. You see, but I want to tell Fali something, and just remember, you have 2 elections to face this year. The first one is on the 28th, not you per se, but your party. The 28th of this month. And then you have another one that is due either in December of this year or for the latest in March of next year. All right? So around the 5th of March next year is the latest that you can hold it. And knowing how the UNC does operate, you're probably going to go down to the wire just like them. But understand that if you're lying now and telling Tobago, no, we have nothing to do with the UNC. You yourself, you heard Kamala talking about things and more racist and all kind of thing, right? And he finally talking about how over London turned Tobagonians into convenience, xenophobes, and racists. They vexed because Dr. Rowley, in his speech at the commissioning at the airport terminal, said that 60,000 Tobagonians behaving like crab in a barrel. But they all over the place saying, Rowley say all of them is crab in barrel. Not that they behaving like it. Rowley say 60,000 are we in Tobago, we crab in barrel. But here it is that you have the current chief secretary claiming that you have persons in Tobago that over London turned into convenience, xenophobes, and racist. Your own chief secretary saying that you are racist. Where are the placards coming out saying yes, as a racist? The same way they all over the place with placards with big blue crab on it. I'm talking about I'm a proud blue crab 60,000 strong. But all you hear for yourself. The PNM, they must not win the election and they will do whatever it takes. So they have conversations long time and then this liar coming on to tell you, being interviewed on television and so on, and saying they never met. We had no conversations, no discussions, but you heard since 2018, they've been having conversations and discussions. And Prasad Bisasa come on the news last night and lie and say we never met. The last time she had any discussion with Fali was with respect to the Tobago Autonomy Bill. But this is PNM propaganda, PNM Photoshop, national TV and lying to you all. But you have somebody talking about yellow is the code and you're fully prepared to put an inveterate liar as your prime minister. But if she has shown herself to be an inveterate liar over and over and over, I expected better from Julian John. But then again, she's been there long enough. Just remember, this is the same woman who sat down in a commission of inquiry into the Piarco airport and told about the corruption that was taking place that she found from one meeting and went to the prime minister. So disturbed was she, went to the prime minister and told him, you have a problem on your hand. You see that Piarco airport, that's corruption. And the prime minister then, Basdio Pandey, said, I am aware it is a feeding frenzy and a milch cow. And he disbanded the interministerial committee and then fired Ramesh and put Kamala as the attorney general. But Julian John was sitting in a meeting and here Kamala Prasad Bisasa denied that there was any corruption in that project. Talking about is a 23-year-old PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt, and she clapped that. Yes, leader. And you know she lying through her teeth. So it's either you were lying in the commission of inquiry when you said you told Basdio Pandey that there was corruption, he told you he was aware, or Kamala Prasad Bisasa lying. But either way, one all you're lying. So we have at least one liar who hopes to be a member of cabinet in the next government, or two liars. So when they want to come and tell about PNM and this and that and we voting based on race, it's not based on race, madam. It's because of that. You will have shown yourself to be dishonest to the hilt and will lie and do whatever it takes to get into office. And now Fali joins that band of liars. Christopher Columbus was a damn blasted liar, but he had nothing on them. Nothing. Columbus had nothing on this band of liars that you have here. But these are the people, and that is why they say birds of a feather flock together. And that is why Fali will not associate with the PNM, because the PNM don't want, we're not about that. Dishonesty, that is what they are about. But go ahead, yellow is the code, and we're voting for yellow. Give it 6 months before the infighting start. And 6 months is generous. Let's remember Makandal Daga told all in all my 50, 60 years, I never see so much thieving in all my life. People thieving money like they invented it, like they have a right to thief. And he wasn't talking about the PNM. What more you need to hear? How much more you need to hear? But some more, according to Kamala, like stick breaking all your ears, and not just stick, like the wax, it calcify in your ears, you can't hear. Your ears have cataract and glaucoma. But go ahead. Anyway, I have 20 minutes, 7701763. I need to go and understand that my opponent is at this time walking in the very same area that I will be walking in this afternoon. Poor soul, but let him do what he had to do. Waste that time. Where is it? Where is it? Hello, good afternoon. I am good, man.
So, yes, so like, thank you for that editorial that I have and also recording and that recording. You see that? Or you have ammunition, you know. All you need to distribute that. You know, you have meeting and share, particularly when you're like campaign in Tobago.
Yes.
You get that? Because all that nonsense about AI, that is total BS. AI should have been clean and they would not have moved background. I am catching something like the show of please. Does AI do that?
Nope.
So who are they trying to fool?
Like a full day, the
And
fully
it's also
dance.
the way to the so-called insurance, who got the $40,000. Give it to them. They want to be insurance? Share it among them and other mix.
Yep.
Give it to them. Don't be afraid of your duffel ganger.
I am not.
Because you were ahead of him. That so-called false stomach.
Yes.
Right? So people have a choice, you know.
Yep.
You know? Between going to protect the Tobago. Or you want to vote for King Blue Crab. And the anchor.
Yes.
Or you want to vote for the barricade. So it shows that Watson Luke just as guilty too.
Yes.
And if I could also say, well, that lady who is now the head of the PSC2 is just as guilty by association. Because she was there campaigning for the PDP.
That's right.
So she was just as guilty. And everything just falls into place. And we were one because wasn't this made a temporary senator back then?
What's that?
Wasn't this made a temporary senator back then?
Yes, there was some matter dealing with something, and he did. The UNC did invite him to speak as a.
What about Mr. Pollard?
Mr. Who?
Mr. Pollard.
I can't recall.
Anyway,
yeah.
Everybody could see that so-called blue party is a branch of the UNC. Right? I have to do to see what they have to. Actually, they trying to put up all the skinner with some kind of thing about something was full, and they put some message from the fire, from the fire service.
Yes.
Which turned out to be false.
Yes.
This is very serious, you know. I hope this is investigating this, you know. So I don't have to roll for that.
Yes.
So I witnesses the video talking about that, and I hope that the social investigative journalists who that investigate criminal activities in England with the African government minister allege. I hope they investigate all the things too. Along with the audio.
Yep.
So I don't know if you're not today.
You too, sir. So let me get this here. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Hello, good day.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Dominic. This is Vanessa Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
I am presently at ground zero.
Right.
Look, to my surprise, I am seeing the candidates, the opposing candidate, the UNC candidate for the area is walking on my street. However, it's a bunch of strangers that he's walking with. So I am confused.
Yes.
Who am I going out to really meet? Who am I going out to talk to in terms of if it is my neighbors could come and to talk to me and say, well, yes, this is a candidate being endorsed. I don't know any of these people. So I'm wondering if this is the president that is being set in other constituencies, right? And on top of that, I don't want nobody to come and rock down my gate. So I politely put out my little PNM flag, but I used to little PNM flag outside to fly high. You know, these people that are quarrel and calling me dunce and stupid.
You serious?
That was ridiculous to me. Because you in my zone, you in my road, in front of my house. So I'm sitting down, rather than sitting down on the pavement or whatnot, right?
Right.
And you quarreling because I am showing my democratic right to show my support for a party. I don't want to come in front of my place and shake them again.
Yes.
So later on over, my allegiance lie one time So what I was saying, this is the first time I experienced that. I say, well, what is this? What is that? And the candidate was right there.
Yes.
Right? So if this is the attitude that they are written persons and these people are not from the area, they are not. And if this is the attitude, then, oh my God, what are we to expect if we have to go and really vote for this said party? Right? This was very disturbing to me. Right? But anyway, they finally move on. They get the point, and because nobody else was coming outside, so they move on. Right? But this is madness. And if they feel these things we will fall for, we are not. All right? So have a blessed day, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, so the people of Malabar Extension, Malabar Branch Road, Train Line, Noriga, and so on. I will be there in a little bit. Yes, so feel free to let them know. Keep walking. But as you heard, a resident, one of my constituents there, they were just in front of our home, and the kind of behavior, the conduct. The conduct. Mr. Bachelor is saying there are things I am afraid of: red women and the PNM. Okay. All right. Well, you can be a UNC, Mr. Bachelor. You can support them because remember the UNC have issues with tar babies, persons who are dark-skinned. Just saying. Do you also have an issue with persons who are dark-skinned as well? 7701763. It's only a matter of time, but I know Mr. Bachelor would have indicated to us that he lives, between the US and Trinidad. And he, right now, if he's in the US, is experiencing firsthand FAFO. And I'm sure he knows what I'm talking about, right? You have plenty of people in the US who are suffering from FAFO. Okay? And plenty more to come. But it seems like Trinidadians, some of you all want to experience it. Well, here what now? Just get a visa, buy a ticket and go up to the US and you could experience it. We don't want to experience it here. All right? We're not interested in that. Keep that for yourself. I keep saying your vote is non-refundable. You can't go back 6 months from now when 2 ministers fired for wrong stand-up. Don't complain when you figure, yes, as she said, she purged the UNC. But you see, they come and win the election, and afterwards, God forbid, you hear Ravi Ratiram is the president of the Senate. And Al-Ram is a senator to be made Minister of Public Utilities. So she hit all her 6 for 9. Give all the shakes. Right? Fool all into believing, hey, look, I'm doing something here. And then what happens? And then what happens is that, one sec there, Brian. The purging, everybody who she purged, they come back. Just like what took place when they borrowed hundreds of millions of dollars for the visa in Wassa. Everybody went through the front door and came back in through the back. So while she sent people out the front door, she said, you go. You all have tarnished the reputation of the party. Shh, I just a fool the electorate. Now gosh. Don't worry yourself. All you got to go. Rudy, don't worry yourself. I think, can you see, I put in Padara there, right? Because they don't want him in Princestown. He can't walk Princestown because it have people waiting for him with some big stone and bottle. So I need to move him from Princestown and put somebody else there. But don't worry, I'll bring you to the Senate and I will make you the Minister of Labor. Don't worry. So I want you to go and say a whole set of thing, and then they say somebody else leave and whatnot. So you just relax yourself. Don't study it. I'm relieving you of the burden of being a representative. People come in and they want this and they want that. I'll put you in the Senate and we'll handle it. Don't worry. Ravi, you don't worry. I put in you Senate, the president of the Senate. So when Kangaloo out the country, you get into act as president. That's even better than what you had before. What do you think? Yes, leader. Yes, I like that. Okay, very good. So you just relax yourself. I will take care of you. You have been a loyal soldier, and I will see to it that you're taken care of. Okay? Nice. And you saw a little who talking about the yellow easy code, had to sit down with a little tongue in your mouth in a corner like little Jack Horner and rocking from side to side. Don't call me. Don't expect me to come and sit down here and do this. No? I will be focused on my constituents and doing my work. No time. Because I will have to go through it just like Wale for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Brian.
Good afternoon to you, Dominic.
Greetings.
770 is ringing it very busy, but I'm not hearing the beep.
I don't know what is happening. This morning it was telling me that there was no SIM in the phone. So I had to take it out, put it back, so I don't know what's happening.
Oh, well, okay, well, something is wrong.
Yeah, I'll try to sort it out because the phone fell down last night. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dominic, that lady who called you, was her name Mrs. Scott?
Miss Scott, yes.
I want to tell Mrs. Scott, good afternoon to you, ma'am. Just like the rest of the people in this country who believe that yellow is the code, after 28th of April, when you give them your vote, you will realize how much of a code it is to tell you that all I needed you for was for you to place your stamp and dip your finger for the UNC, and I don't need you anymore. As a matter of fact, I never needed you.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, you are dumb and you are stupid. But then those are the kind of people that vote for people like the UNC. That is what they are telling you, Mrs. Scott. And when I say Mrs. Scott, I don't mean Mrs. Scott alone. I mean all those who are listening to your program today, Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
That is what they are saying to us, that we are dumb and stupid, and all they need from us is to vote for them. And if we make them out, and if we demonstrate, as Mrs. Scott did, that we make you out, that you don't belong here, you all are a pickup side, you're dumb and you're stupid. They go tell you in advance. You're going to don't know, you're not going to vote for them, Mrs. Scott. And to repeat, and when I say Mrs. Scott, I mean all who are listening to this live. That is how they will treat you. So the wink and the smile and a handshake, that you believe that they love you, as Mrs. Bissetta always says, that too is a lie. Because all they want is your vote. And we have been saying that all the time. So what Mrs. Scott experienced a short while ago from somebody who was walking on her street, and she said she never experienced in her life, from these strangers, these pickup sides, these makeup people, who they busing, so they can look as though they have a big crowd, like what they did last night in Central, when they had Africans who were holding signs and walking on the stage and making pronouncement at 10%, like Leroy Batiste. They are all being used and fooled. Like all of us, tell your friends and tell your family to come out. It should be an impetus for us to come out and vote for Dominic Romaine and vote for all of the other PNM candidates to show them that, listen, we are not stupid, we are not dumb, we are not fools, because we make you out, we read your script. That is what we have to do. And the evidence is when we vote and we continue to leave them in the abyss of the opposition. Because this gangster party with a gangster leader fronting as a political party. We heard from Larry Lala last night. He was given his time to speak. And all what he told us, many of us already knew what was going on in that gangster party with that gangster leader, that he has no care for anybody but herself. She doesn't care about the people in Tobago, Dominic. Because what she wants to do with Tobago is to win the vote, get the 2 votes, and then she will give them possession to move them away. That is what she wants to do. That is the end result of that. So them and Fari have the objective. It's not to keep Trinidad and Tobago together. It's to get rid of Tobago. And let Fari have his own government like he wants to do. And then when the SHIT hit the fan in Tobago, they will want to come back running to Trinidad. You understand? Because road with that stupidness. I'm making them believe that Fali is the be-all end-all. Fali is not. Fali doesn't even know what he has gotten himself into with this relationship, this partnership, this coalition with the UNC. This woman is a dangerous woman. Very, very dangerous to the good citizens of this country. If you could take a man who is on a criminal fraud charge, where he might very well, if and when found guilty, could serve up to 50 to 20 years in jail and put him in a safe seat. Trinidad and Tobago, ask yourselves what he is telling you. Because David Lee is a loyalist. Because David Lee understands that, hey, I am before the court and I need help. Because in June of this year, they will have election for political leader in the UNC. So right now, she has shown up her team of loyalists.
Mm-hmm.
Geraldine John has never, she don't even know where Cuba North begins or where it ends. Mm-hmm. She never shopped in Cuba. Never in her own life. Never shopped in Cuba. But she is a member for Cuba North. And people in Cuba North must get up and say, what the hell going on here? Who is this person? Never in their life the people of Cuba North, Caroni Central would have ever seen what they are seeing today. I am warning the people of Cuba North and Caroni, don't let Kamala Prasad take you for a dotage fool that they go vote for any crapo, any UNC crapo. Because I was telling you that you all are so dumb and dotish. You all are so stupid that what or they see yellow or they're going to vote. Or they don't care who she put. A fraudster, no problem, I will vote. Geraldine John, who don't even know not Cuba North, no problem, we go vote for you anti-cam. And she's using you all, she has insulted you all. Insulted. And only going to take that. I want to see many people to have no problem with the insult from Kamala Prasad Misesa, the gangster leader. I want to see. I want to be counting those votes to see how many of you all don't give a damn about your life and your children, and that you all are going to promote people who are fraudsters, people who are criminals, who are accused criminals before the court of law. If they could get away with that, no-winning opposition, what will they do if they get into power? You think they will say, man, I'm going to be a good boy now, I'm going to be a good girl now? It is going to be worse. And the only people who will regret it and suffer for it is us. When we hear that knock on our door, which is the IMF, that come to tell us all them welfare that $6 billion that Ministry of Social Welfare and Family Service doing to assist people in this country, that's done. When gas price, all these subsidies on gas and electricity and water, that's done. When URP and CPEF, that's done. And then on top of that, that public service with all them 80,000 people who telling themselves that Leroy Baptiste go get them, Kamala go get them 10%. Well, you forget, I know a lot of you were born by 1986. When I was around, I was canvassing at that time. I was a young fella at that time, canvassing for the PNM for that election when we lost 33-3. And look at what happened then. People lost their house, they lost their car, they lost everything. Some people have even lost their jobs. Trinidad and Tobago take warning. Mrs. Scott has seen it live and direct. She didn't have to go nowhere, you know. She didn't have to go anywhere. It was right in front of her gate. She didn't have to go a step, not a step. All she did was demonstrate her allegiance to the People's National Movement because she understands and she sees the UNC for who they really and truly are. I'm urging Trinidad and Tobago especially, see the UNC and FALI for who they really are. These are gangsters coming to gangster you. With the pussies, they don't have business where you live. You don't have to worry about that. Them want your vote, and then they will laugh at you. Be warned, be armed, vote TNM. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Jenny, call me back. I probably have a quick 5 minutes. Let me see here. Yeah. Let's know. Yeah. So understand the strategy when you give contractors from Central and South Trinidad contracts in Tobago at the expense of the Tobagonian contractors. How do you show your gratitude? Right? When a lot of these South and Central contractors who pave in a road in Tobago, some of them have no experience in paving road. They are stucco companies, they are window companies, they are roofing companies, but getting contract to pave road in Tobago because a certain big contractor who has not been getting contracts from the current administration, but have all this equipment and workers, right? Going and using all these companies as fronts to bid for these contracts in Tobago, and then when they win the contract, this big contractor now, it is alleged, is providing some of these small companies with the equipment that they need and the workmen. So basically, they don't is the big contractor doing the work, but using these small contractors who have nothing to do with road paving as fronts to get the contract, and they go to Tobago and do the work, and then they get paid, and then the UNC, they're using the UNC as the vehicle to be able to funnel that money allegedly to the THA. Well, not the THA, sorry, the TPP. Because I have been asking the question, where did TPP get all this money? They had the candidate launch to present 2 candidates 2 weeks ago on the 23rd of March at Rovanel's Resort. And I was asking, they have so many public spaces under the THA. Why didn't they use that? Why didn't they use that free of charge? Why didn't go to Shaw Park? Well, we know the crowd was small and Shaw Park would have been too big. But they are accustomed having their presentations and stuff outdoors in parks and so on. Why is it that you all had to go to Rovanel's? Rovanel's ain't cheap. How much did that cost? We heard when they were finalizing the party's constitution, Fari told us they have a battery of senior council lawyers who are looking into that and putting together their constitution for them. And I asked the question then, where did TPP get any money from to pay a battery of senior council lawyers whose hourly fee is all kind of how much, hundreds of dollars or $2,500 an hour and all them kind of thing? Where you all getting that money? Don't forget that when the PDP was launched at the Magdalena and questions were being asked where the PDP get that money, Farley and Watson tell me, well, not Watson, Farley and Faith tell me one cocoa does full basket. The membership give you churrup, $10 here and $20 here and $5 there. And we were able to put all of that together to get $500,000 to launch at the Magdalena. And then Watson came on his tirade a few months later when he was still PSA president and say that is his pension money that he withdrew from the PSA that was used for that. Well, now we had to question if that was true because we hearing that money was sent to Tobago since 2018. We heard it from the lips of the mouth of the leader of the opposition that since 2018 they sending money to Tobago, to the TPP, the PDP, and that certain people get the money. It didn't come to the party, it went to an individual, and people asking, well, why you give he the money? And Pali is saying, well, we see things purchased, we see money being spent, but the money didn't come directly to the party, it went to the individual. So now we have to question the veracity of whether or not it was really PSA money that paid for that or money that came from Trinidad, right? Who pick up the phone and call a contractor and say, I needed to help out the TPP. They need some money to fight the election. What you could do? Yeah, you don't worry. We got to sort out that. So when Watson tell us about Farley coming through the airport in Tobago as the chief secretary, nobody is shaking either. He could do what he want. He could walk through with a bag of money. Anybody gonna check the chief sec bag? Watson told us that. Don't forget that. Had a big press conference and told us these things. And people laugh and say, Watson is a madman, but he just toting sour grapes. He vexed because things have worked out and he lying on Farley. But now we have to question if Watson was in fact telling the truth and whether or not there was in fact substance to what he was saying. But anybody who doubts the veracity of what we've just heard And more recordings, I'm sure, is going to come out because there is some recording, and I saw somebody mention there. I think it's the long one that I played just now. I just didn't play it from the start, where they're talking about Keon Warner, Warner Enterprises, I think it was, and him wanting to be, the biggest contractor and and to rival the Syrian. I don't know if have any Syrian contractor that's pay road and all them things, but anyway, right? And talking about wanting to. Anyway, I don't go just now, so let me just take Jenny here. Jenny, go ahead.
Hi, Dominic. Morning.
Hi.
I've been trying for a while, so I don't know which number.
I'll check. I don't know what's going on with our phone. I'll check on it.
Okay, no problem. Morning to evening to all those who look on the past 7 things. 2 or 3 things very quickly. Felicia Thomas, done from PSA, who say she's the president, and people thinking the whole of the public service voted for her, when out of her membership about 12,000, about 2,000 people are voted. So that's a credit teacher, not everybody voted for her.
Right.
I think somebody may have whispered in her ear about section, I think it's 178(1) of the Constitution, which prohibits public officers from taking part in active politics and what she would have been doing. So I didn't see her appear on the stage there again, because those things are, if you look at the Civil Service Regulations, Chapter 2301, which is also stated there. So what you would have done is created a position where her job could be interpreted, because she's already a temporary worker at what I understand. So imagine as a president of a union, even those simple things like this, that a president cannot go and actively take part in political things, going to hospitals. You can't do that. So that's what she did. And she's so foolish selling threats to the government and the IBD and that kind of stuff. But that's here. I want to tell people again quickly, crowds do not win elections. So the crowds looking good, and I was up there last night and sent it was the bomb. It was really, really good. And so the crowds in San Fernando, you see the energy, you see the vibe. I was there with nominations. They were with the Prime Minister, with our constituency for the Senate Center. So it was big. We had section and things, we had, the first section was the flag waivers. And then after that was the big truck, and then behind that was the mask corridors in the red and wings and costume. And then after that was the Prime Minister working with his security, and behind that was the one holding the posters and things. So we had a full carnival band coming down the road. So it was really good. I saw the mountain of Minister Keith Cutler with his crew up in that bringing it live on about all that. I even brought yours on all. So it was really a beautiful thing to see. But I want to tell people, take that crowd, take that energy, take that vibe, and everybody can vote on April the 20th, come out in the numbers and vote strongly to the People's National Movement. And even if you're in a safe seat, don't just say, they win already. No, come out still and vote, because we're looking for the popular vote. Even if you're in a UNC stronghold where you know the UNC will win, make a vote so the counted come out is not a waste of time, because when the vote is counted at the end, they take and get for the popular vote. And that's what we want, because you have to always vote and the popular vote. And just to draw on this, you see, if we had big crowds and all that in New and they never won a seat. So that's why I say crowds over the election. People have to go out and vote strongly on April the 20th. So Dominic, all the best again. I would check with this when you're working once you get his kind time. Using my transport to come pick me up and bring me. My thing doesn't be transport, right? So I haven't seen you here. I haven't given up and you have not abandoned you. I can never do that, right? But transport is my thing to get back home. Because last night I reached home about 11:30. And if I didn't have transport, I might have reached home at 1 o'clock in the morning. So again, people come out in their numbers and vote strongly for all 41 candidates of the People's National Movement. Despite the UNC area is strong, it don't matter, come out, let your vote be counted, because this has to be historic. This is a new chapter, and if you not want a bunch of clowns and those bunch of they tell everybody they are thief and corrupt people running this country. And when you look at it really and truly, they have nobody. And there's not their Ramsey, is not their Paris, nobody's there. So do you want them in office on April 20th? I'm sure you don't. So vote is on this People's National Movement. Have a blessed everybody. Have a blessed week ahead.
Thank you, Jen. And with that, folks, I take my leave for today. All right. Apologies for the late start, but it couldn't be helped, because people are not willing to wait until after the election. They're looking for assistance now, and in whatever way I can assist, I'm trying to do so. So the work continues. Let me now go and walk. Looking at the weather, it's a bit overcast, but we will see what we can do. And God's willing, we will chat again on Tuesday morning. I'm supposed to be on 91.1 in the morning at 8 o'clock with Sharon. So you all who normally tune into Sharon's program, you can listen out for me there. I think Sharon's dancing would be from 7 a.m. and I come on at 8. All right. So you can catch me there in the morning. And then Tuesday, I think I saw one of those television stations have reached out to me for an interview, WESN. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I have to give them a response, but we will treat with that. So enjoy the rest of your day, folks. If you're heading out, black carpet, keep safe. It's raining. If it's raining on your side, stay safe. And God's willing, we will chat again on Tuesday morning. Okay? Peace out. So let me just get this radio.